you know it.
With a tears in my eyes.
The cream of the crop.
Acknowledge me.
What's up, everybody? Episode 320 of Top Rope Nation. Ryan Drosty, Justin Joint, Jesse Velasquez. Those guys are rocking their brand new Top Rope Nation merch, fresh off our Black Friday sale. Love to see it, Justin Joint. The red, white, and blue. How you feeling?
Well, I'm not the kind of person that likes to look overly patriotic out in public, but this thing is so freaking comfortable and fits just perfect. I can't recommend it enough. It's a thing of beauty.
It looks nice and cozy. Very good. Jesse Velasquez, you're pumping the Patreon exclusive Top Rope Nation Unplugged logo. How's it going?
That MTV Unplugged at the bottom looks sweet. It really does. I'm
Some
gonna
genius put that together.
I know. It might be the guy to my left on the screen there. Usually I come up with something very, very sarcastic in the beginning, but I'm not going to do that because we're in between holidays right now. So I'm going to give thanks as well as count my blessings for all of you wonderful listeners out there and people who view this YouTube, as well as the people who support us in all different types of ways. And lastly, I'm very thankful and blessed to have the two of you in my life and to pod with you on a weekly basis.
Wow.
Same to you, buddy.
Yeah, feeling sentimental right now. Very good. Thank you, sir. Yeah, you've been a great addition to the pod, and we're thankful for you as well, Jesse.
I would love to see some more Patreons, help support us, because I think next year we need to be the official sponsor of the NBA in-season tournament. Come on. Need enough money to make it the Top Rope Nation tournament for the NBA. Let's make it happen, everybody.
Well, I was going to say, you want to know something funny? I've had multiple independent wrestling federations reach out to me through the podcast email asking if we want to sponsor one of their shows. And it's like, we're a pretty successful podcast. I don't have that kind of money, guys. I just had one this week. I think it was a fed in Puerto Rico reaching out to me. I was like, I wish it'd be cool to have our logo, on the ring apron, but I just can't get that in the budget. We need at least 3 or 4 times as many patrons as we have right now for that. And we appreciate every one of you, by the way. The names are going across the bottom of the screen right now. We got around 40 patrons right now and appreciate all your support.
Did Santana's people get a hold of you? He's down in Puerto Rico right now.
No. Maybe let's have him call into the pod. If he does that, then maybe I could be convinced.
He's on the very short bucket list of mine from a current perspective to get for an interview, which I haven't told you guys.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That would be cool. Yeah, we have been dropping, speaking of Patreon, so much bonus content. You guys did not hear from us properly on the main feed last week because it was Top Rope Nation Classics week, but hopefully you listened to the teaser. We reviewed Survivor Series 95, an awesome show. Great feedback in the Facebook group on that one. Special shout out, Rick Skelton wrote a very nice post that I really appreciated reading about how much he enjoyed it. And you too can listen to that and almost 50 editions of Top Rope Nation Classics on Patreon. Jesse just dropped a bonus TRN Unplugged as well. 2 hours with Michael Jenkinson. A lot of that on 1998 WWF. A little bit on modern day wrestling as well. Glowing reviews of Swerve Strickland. That was a good one. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to glow about Swerve Strickland these days, is it?
Yeah. No, that's for sure. I think we're going to be doing more of that here later in the show. So definitely going to be doing that. And so I mean, look, if you don't have $5 a month to support us on Patreon, no harm, no foul, but you can support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel and subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. Of course, that's free and helps us out a lot. Or even better, write us a written review on Apple. We haven't gotten one in a long time. Hit us with the 5 stars as well. We haven't asked for that in quite some time either, so I guess not that surprising, but would love to see a new written review pop up. That would be great. So guys, before we get to the topics at hand, what's in the glass? Justin Joint, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking the Watkins Spiced Orange Kentucky Bourbon.
Ah, yes. I had some of that last night. Good stuff.
Not too shabby. I am not generally a fan of like the specialty flavored stuff. And unfortunately, I didn't have anything that would pair nicely with a Juan Soto joining the New York Yankees. I just had to get that out there because I am buzzing, absolutely buzzing
It's a
today.
lot to give up for 1 year, isn't it?
I mean,
You
I
happy with
don't
that
think,
one?
yeah, these, I would love to see the percentage of these prospects who actually end up turning out to be anything, and I don't think for a second he's just going to be there for 1 year. And if we win the World
They'll
Series,
throw a lot of money at him. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
But I'm pumped. It's like it's only the second good off season that I think the Yankees have had since like 2009.
Yeah, they're having a good offseason. I'm still waiting on Otani. Supposedly the Cubs are still alive. They're down to like 4 teams. I don't know if they'll get him. Supposedly they're in the conversation, but I mean, if I had to predict, probably the Dodgers, unfortunately. But who knows? We'll see.
I'm surprised the Mets aren't making a bigger run for him.
They were rumored initially, and then I think they pulled out. So Blue Jays, Cubs, Dodgers, Giants, and of course the Angels still trying to keep him around. So
well,
that's what we're
hopefully,
seeing.
I kind of wish the Mets were making a harder push for it because I really want. If the Yanks can just get Yamamoto now, I'll be as happy as a clam.
See, if we don't get Otani, I think the Cubs are going to go hard after him. We'll see.
Yeah,
They've been linked there too. Or, we'll end up getting nobody and I'll be depressed. And then I'll have nothing to look forward to. Bears, Cubs, nothing.
Welcome to my Major League Baseball world, Ryan there.
Yeah. Blackhawks are, they're not good, but they got a good future ahead of them. So I'm rocking the Blackhawks tonight. Jesse, what's in your glass?
So much like pro wrestling and beer, especially as well, everything is subjective. So I'm going with my favorite Twin Cities brewery this evening. I'm going with a little Modest Dream Yard IPA. It's not far from Fulton, Justin. I think we've had this discussion before. So when you get up here, go there instead of Fulton.
We actually get some of their stuff here. Happy's has it. Yeah. They
Jump
get Modest.
on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Quite a few of their beers I've seen up there. I don't know if I've seen that one though.
What was the name of it again? The name of the brewery?
Modest, MODIST Dream Yard on the bottom there. It's an IPA. They have some really nice logos, super sharp.
Nice.
I have one I've had on the pod before, Parish Brewing, Dr. Juice. Yeah. I know Justin's a fan of this one, just outside of New Orleans. Unfortunately, no pay-per-views coming up in New Orleans for us to travel down there. They do have a Dynamite coming up with not very many tickets sold, unfortunately. Justin and I were secretly hoping that Revolution would be in New Orleans, but no such luck there.
By the way, Ryan, I can't remember if I told you, Happy's has Ghost in the Machine again. It's back, and they
same brewery.
They have tall boys of them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
very nice. That's another good one from this brewery, Parish Brewing. So check it out, you guys, if you are out there at your local liquor store. Good stuff. All right, so we're gonna start off hot here. Some hot takes. CM Punk, you guys. We haven't done a pod since Survivor Series here on the main feed, and we talked about the excitement of him coming into WWE. We talked how it was hypocritical and everything based on what he said in the past, but we understood it, and then he gave the Monday Night Raw address, and he has not been on there since. If you're listening to this on Friday morning, he will be on SmackDown tonight. What is your excitement level at this point? Now that he's made that Raw appearance, which we haven't talked about on the pod, are you still looking forward to CM Punk's future with the WWE? Jesse, I'm going to go to you first because you had the CM Punk shirt on, on the Survivor Series review, I believe. What are you feeling right now?
It's about a 5. I mean, obviously, that was one of the most hypocritical promos you're ever going to hear. I mean, you can't lie about that. I will say as well, it's really, really hard to pass judgment on one promo, no matter how kind of a wet fart that it was. You have to let things marinate. I think that's the most important thing that we're learning from this, especially in the snapshot age of social media and the overreactions just from one thing. You got to look at the totality. So we'll see over the next 3 to 6 months. He did not come out with a bang like we thought that he should have. It was very corporate man Punk. We can almost nickname him that now. And I think it's going to be probably more of the same on SmackDown. It was a very AEW light promo from his initial Rampage promo that he cut when he was just happy to be there. Go lucky, as MJF said, I'm going to insert name town here and all that stuff. So I think you're going to expect more of that. And hopefully it bleeds into character work, which is what he's always been known for. So give it a chance, but it was not a good opening shot.
So 5 out of 10. Okay. Justin, what about you?
I'm still curious. I mean, because it is CM Punk. But man, it wasn't good. Although with some distance, I do think the promo was very purposeful. Like I think it was meant to be hypocritical and kind of void of any substance or heart, because I think he's going to basically be a heel. Especially, the rumors is he's going to be working Rollins, whether that be, the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania. I think he's going to lean in to his hypocrisy. And I think that's kind of the way they should go with it too. Because in my opinion, CM Punk's always been better as a heel anyways. Even worse than the Punk promo, though, was like me actually spending the 3 hours watching that Raw, expecting them to, with all the eyeballs they were going to have on that show, because, Orton's return too. And that was just one of the most boring, horrid 3 hours of wrestling I've watched all year. I mean, for years, for that matter. It's like they had this opportunity to pull me back in, and now I have zero interest in watching, anything outside of highlights. And, unless I hear Punk is on the screen, maybe then I will tune on. But other than that, I think they really blew it with that show.
Hard to disagree. I mean, the reviews were pretty negative on it. This week's Raw had much better reviews. He wasn't even on the show, And so, yeah, knowing they were going to do a higher viewership, which they did. And yeah, all around, I thought it was a failure. I agree with you. I think he has to be a heel. I don't think that you can do this presentation with CM Punk and keep people interested. I'm still like modestly interested because I don't know where they're going. I think as a heel, like he needs to lean in and basically do like saying the things that Jericho did when he debuted in 99. Like how he said all that stuff in an ironic way, like I'm here to save the WWF and ratings are down, all that stuff. He needs to say all that, but like really mean it and go in on it. Like they were begging for me to come back here. He needs to acknowledge where he was. I know he's not going to say AEW, but be like, I haven't actually been away from wrestling. You needed me, that kind of thing. And I came back because this happy-go-lucky Punk, happy to be here, I'm home. That just cannot possibly be where they're going. I refuse to believe that they're that stupid. It cannot be that stupid because how can that keep people interested? Yeah.
I mean, the off mic comment that he made to the camera at the very end, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. That's something a heel would say,
Tap into that. Yeah.
And the whole promo just lacked energy, like the thumbnail on the show says here on YouTube. It just totally lacked energy. He didn't really seem to be that into it. I didn't think it came across pretty, not lazy, but just like lackadaisical. The reports were out there that they were short on time. They cut it short. I mean,
it's a 3-hour show. What the fuck are they running low?
I know
some
other segment went long, or some match went long. I can't remember what happened, but it's just like, you wait the whole time for the show and for that segment on the show, 3 hours, as you said, Justin, and that's what we get. I mean, to contrast it with AEW, I mean, obviously, when he came back to AEW, it was so much better. The promo was way better. The crowd was much better. I thought the crowd was kind of weak in Nashville, to be honest with you. I thought it was a pretty weak crowd that night. I mean, so that played into it as well. But like, we got I'm going to just hold it up on air. We got the free ice cream bars when he was in Chicago. This is from All Out, but the same thing that they gave at the Last Dance. Everyone rushing for the free ice cream bars. And what he said in that promo was definitely heartfelt. Now, I'm not going to deny that like part of the reason he came back to AEW was to make money, obviously. Mm-hmm. But like, regardless of where they're going with the story, it's hard to not, in the back of your mind with this whole thing, just be kind of like, he's clearly only there to make money.
Yeah.
because he has nowhere else to go. And for that reason, even with a good heel run, it's hard for me to get totally excited. Like I know that people who only watch WWE and maybe they never even saw CM Punk, in his heyday, it was a decade ago, they're like so excited. And it's like, we're not really seeing the real CM Punk at this point. Are they even going to let him be the real CM Punk? Because he's got to walk on eggshells. He has to be on his best behavior. Is he ever going to have that edge in WWE? Okay, so with AEW, he comes in. Yes, he wanted to make money, but I also believe part of it was he missed the business and he wanted to be creative and he loves wrestling. And with the WWE run, I don't really get that. Because of everything he has said about WWE. He was miserable there. Even when he was working there for years, he was miserable there. He almost left multiple times. So there's just no buy-in. You can't believe anything he says, which is why I think, he has to go heel. It's the only thing that makes sense to keep me even modestly interested. But I'm at a 5 or below right now to go on Jesse's rankings. I mean, I might be at like a 3 right now. I'm going to watch SmackDown. I can't say I'm particularly looking forward to it. The bidding war to get Punk to sign on your brand. Obviously, he's going to be on Raw. Orton went with SmackDown. So there's not really any intrigue there. So the only intrigue for me is the heel face dynamic.
Sports books should capitalize and throw some odds out there on who he's going to get into a backstage altercation with first. It's going to happen within the next year and a half.
So the video on our YouTube channel that I filmed at Collision when TK announced to the Chicago crowd, that he had fired him. You should see some of the comments coming in on this. These people on here like, Vince would have never allowed to get away with this stuff for so long, or stuff like Vince wouldn't have fired him. He would have kept him in control. I've seen, look, he's in WWE. Thank you, Tony. The dumbest move ever. And look, everything's going great. Everything's going great. He's been there less than 2 weeks. I mean, everything was going great in AEW for what, a year before it all went to hell. I mean, just wait and see what happens. Those
are the same people who were touting the reimagining of Lexis King as a huge success in NXT.
Oh, that's already off the rails, just getting panned everywhere. So bad.
I know. Shane97531 on YouTube shouldn't have made that comment. I mean, a bunch of damn tribalists out there. It's just brutal.
But I mean, regardless of the material though, wouldn't you guys agree? Like some of that's on Punk, just the delivery was not good. I mean, it was like he airballed a layup. I mean, it should have been for a guy who is ultra talented on the mic. That should have been an easy moment to shine. His first promo back in WWE. And I was just like, my jaw dropped in a bad way. It's like, that was it? That's what I waited for tonight, to see that? I mean, it was very disappointing. Hopefully he saves himself tomorrow, but I mean, just for someone who has followed his career for a long time, like I know you guys have, I mean, almost 20 years here, going back to his days in ROH. I've seen it all from Punk. And with this run, it's hard for me to see, if I don't believe in the guy and what he's doing, and that I believe that he is there because he wants to be, and it's not just about money. It's just hard for me to get excited. And it just feels like a money grab. It feels like right now it's neutered CM Punk trying to make money, and that's it. And for that, it's just really, really hard for me to get excited. I know Rick Skelton in the Facebook group, Rad for Survivor Series, he had kind of said something similar about like how he's a big Punk fan too, and he just doesn't really care because of the reasons I laid out. I'll see where they're going. I'll let it play out, to use the cliche term. But right now, there's not a lot of watchability. We've all talked about buying the merch. We came back to AEW. Justin, we wanted to get that Ringer shirt at All Out 21 so bad. And like, I have zero interest in buying any of this WWE merch at all. None. Like I've looked it up, but I'm not gonna buy it. I got the better merch in my opinion, so I'm just not into it. That's the problem right now.
It just feels like he's been neutered. He was the guy who at the tippy top walked away from WWE. Not many people do that. And he's the one who came back to help the rival promotion to make, the wrestling industry healthier and better. And it felt like that was actually happening, and it was going in a great direction. And then he just can't keep himself or his emotions in check, and it just came crumbling down, just like his body kind of crumbled away on, numerous times.
And that's the other thing you got to look at as well, is how long can he stay healthy. So give him a
Mhm.
part-time schedule and let him roll. And let's be real here. His 2011 pipe bomb has already come true because AEW was created. Cody Rhodes ran the path that he wanted to, that he vocalized during that promo as well. So now it's a matter of him. He can't necessarily reinvent the wheel. This is a guy in his mid-40s who is on the very last run of his entire professional career. And you can't, you got to get the training wheels off of him ASAP. So again, this is the biggest let it play out in my mind in the last decade for the WWE, because we all know, we've been so jaded that those let it play outs obviously completely fell on their face. This one actually has a chance to be good to slightly above average, which is hopeful, I feel. And this is such a different structure as well in the WWE as opposed to what he left in 2013 and 2014. Just going back to that pipe bomb as well. So different structure, different person leading the charge as well. So we'll see how he adapts to that as well.
Doofus son-in-law is now in charge.
So like, yeah, the thing about it is, like, as I said earlier, for it to be good, they have to let Punk be Punk. And will they let him be Punk? That's the ultimate question here on a company that is so like overly scripted these days and controls so much of what gets on TV. How much freedom will they really give him because of, how nervous they are that something can go awry? So if they actually let him be Punk, I'm sure it will be good. And we'll come on here and be like, man, that was awesome. They got it back on, the train is back on the rails here. But like, I'm just not confident they will. And if you don't let Punk be Punk, that's his main draw. He's a good worker. He has great matches. I mean, like the dog collar match last year was my match of the year. But I also think it's fair to say that his mic work is really what sets him apart. He has never actually been the best worker in the world, but he's been in the conversation like all around when you include the mic work. And if you take that away from him, neutered, as Justin said, can it be a success? Maybe he can get over to the new generation fans who have zero knowledge of this man's career, and he would have to get over in a totally new and different way with almost like a different character. But for the people who know his career, those are the people who it's going to be hard to get excited about, because we know everything he said in the past. We know about, the real life feelings behind the scenes. We've watched this guy for 2 decades. And so we're going to be the hardest ones for them to pull in. Let me ask you this question, especially Justin, because he's a fan, and I've seen this criticism out there. I've heard people say, how can you be down on Punk if you accepted Bret Hart coming back to this company? Justin, how would you respond to that? I have an answer, but I'll let you respond first.
Well, I guess I gotta say I don't know, because I wasn't watching then. So like I didn't really have any feelings on it at the moment. But also, like, Brett was basically coming back as for a one-off. He wasn't coming back to wrestle full time. Yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, I guess I wasn't a huge fan of Brett coming back to the WWE. Like, it didn't make me tune in to watch it. I didn't order WrestleMania 26. But he was just at a different stage of his career. I mean, his career was basically over at that point. So I don't know what kind of excitement that could have garnered anyways. But I would love to hear your response, because I know my answer was kind of shit.
Well, because people hit on the hypocrisy thing, and Brett and everything he said, Montreal, what happened to Owen and everything. I think, to me, the primary difference here is that Brett was coming back to a company that owned professional wrestling. It was the only option. Not only that, but literally owned basically his whole career. Now, for Punk, that is not the case. I mean, Tony Khan owns ROH. Punk had multiple years of memorable stuff in Ring of Honor, and that footage is owned by Tony Khan. Punk was creating his own narrative in AEW and still wrestling at a high level, and that could all be added to his catalog. With Brett, it was like his career was over, and if he wanted to have any say on his legacy, he had to come back. So there's that aspect of it. Vince owned everything, WWF and WCW. The only thing, he didn't own, I guess, would have been some of the Calgary footage. But overall, he owned everything. So there's that angle. As you said, he wasn't wrestling anymore. I think that's part of it as well. But yeah, I mean, it was just, to me, it also came down to Brett had the stroke. He looked at life differently. Vince reached out to him during that time when Brett didn't know if he was ever going to be able to walk again, or at least walk normally again. And Vince, reached out. This is not a situation like that at all. Like both sides kind of hesitantly came together. Punk has nowhere else to go. Yeah, I've said all these shitty things about you, but like, I still want to work. I don't know. To me, it's not one and the same. I get that you can look at both being hypocritical for sure. This one's more hypocritical to me. I don't blame the guy. In the end, it's all about making money. My greater point on the show was just like, where's your excitement level? And it's very hard for me to get into it. Justin, go ahead.
I just looked it up and Brett talked about it, and he said that he felt it was something he needed to do to make peace with, himself and his career, just because, all he ever heard about is getting screwed by Vince and the Montreal screw job and the tragic death of his brother. So he felt it was like his only solution to kind of move on. Where I don't know if, Punk could make that same kind of argument unless he wanted to make peace with that doctor.
No, I mean, everything about this feels like WWE in this scenario is just the fallback. It's everything about it is, this is like the fallback chick, for lack of a better term. Punk like going to that Raw taping so many months ago, just randomly showing up. Everything about that was like, man, I don't know if things go awry here in AEW. If I go back, I want to make this option possibly available to me. It's not like he really wanted to, but he had no other choice. And he's still looking to make money. He was kind of painted into the corner, and luckily for him, they were willing to bring him back when they sure as hell didn't have to. So
no, I've said it numerous times. I still believe this is an NWO end of 2001, 2002 situation where they're making a crap ton of money, and now you're bringing in an anarchist and someone who can completely flip the Federation inside out. And it didn't end well, and it started to kind of not collapse because they had a monopoly already, but kind of just waning interest in the WWE. Hey, who knows? It could happen again with Punk.
Unless you guys have any other thoughts on this, I think we'll go on to a different topic. Anything else?
No.
Okay. So let's keep it WWE before we go AEW. Randy Orton came back the same night. Punk totally overshadowed his return that night. I think it's fair to say at Survivor Series. But since then, last week on SmackDown, you got Orton signing with SmackDown, and it looks like starting a feud with the Bloodline. He went after Solo and Jimmy Uso. Paul Heyman was involved on the show. And so, like, I guess he's going to go through the Bloodline and probably work Roman. Excitement level on this, Jesse?
Not high, because here's what's going to happen. Slow start to the match. They'll stare each other down. Psychology is going to be there. Crowd will get invested a little bit here and there. Match is going to slowly build. 15 minutes in, Randy's going to start to get the edge, and all of a sudden, ref bump. Oh, no, here comes the Bloodline. Oh, here comes Solo and Jimmy. Randy just starts to fight them off. Paul Heyman starts to distract him. Uh-oh, Roman comes in with the spear. Oh, here comes Solo and Jimmy again. They use the chairs on him. They pick him up. Oh, spear one more time. 1, 2, 3. Change my mind.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it just feels like a stopgap thing to do until they get to the Cody match at Mania. Here's a big star who hasn't been around in a while. Just another guy to put in front of Roman. You don't possibly believe him beating Roman for the title at this stage. So it's just it's good to see Randy, as we talked about, incredible shape. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, hard to get excited, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, zero excitement. I've never been a big Randy Orton fan to begin with. I mean, he's fine. I know he's good in the ring, but to me, it just always feels like a performance and not, how we like to talk about it as an actual fight.
Mhm.
So I was honestly, when I saw him show up at Survivor Series and him looking like he's on the gas, I was like, all right, I can get into this. This guy is just huge. But watching that stupid Raw after Survivor Series, I was already bored with it. It's just going to
Mhm.
be the same old tropes. And honestly, I think it's a bit of a waste of this kind of initial bump you're going to get from the return of Randy Orton, just if he's going to get fed to Roman Reigns in like the next month.
Yeah.
I'm actually a lot more concerned for to be the continuation of the watering down of Solo Sikoa, who was once a kind of promising figure, and now if he's just getting fed to all of Roman's opponents, like what good does that do for him in the future? It doesn't do anything.
Yep. I agree. You know what I think is the most entertaining thing right now on WWE television? To me, it's the Drew McIntyre stuff.
Yeah.
Him going in a totally different direction. That's to me the most entertaining thing. That and I actually pretty big fan of Judgment Day, Rhea in particular, but I think that's really good too. But yeah, I mean, and that obviously ties in here, the rest of Judgment Day. But like, yeah, the Drew McIntyre switch in his character, I think, has been the most must-see thing lately. So
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed that. I'll go one further as well. It's really hard to deny Gunther's superiority.
Yeah.
So he's the one and only must-see television for me currently going in World Wrestling Entertainment.
he's been the steady portion of 2023. That is for sure. Fortunately, didn't lose to the Miz, although some people were, Jesse, dead set on that one happening for some reason.
Those generations are starving right now, Ryan.
Nom 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 nom.
Oh, all right. Last thing on WWE that I had here, maybe a surprising thing, maybe not. I thought this would be a fun topic to throw in. WWE no longer is going to produce any physical media, DVDs, Blu-rays, basically almost 40 years, going back to the Coliseum video days in the mid 80s. It's all no more. They, I guess, purely streaming and digital sales from this moment on. I got a little nostalgic when I heard this. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I used to love going to the video store when wrestling DVDs finally became very accessible, whether it was at Best Buy or Sam Goody or even Walmart, and getting like the newest documentary that they were putting out, the multi-disc sets, before the network took off and everything. And of course, like when we were kids, the Coliseum videos, we've talked about this on the pod a lot, just renting them, but like the ultimate was to actually own one, but they were so damn expensive. Spending $40-$50 for a VHS. I never actually owned one ordered new. I got some that were sealed on eBay years later. But it's hard, like as a longtime wrestling fan, to not. It hurts a little bit, doesn't it? Like I'm kind of getting back on board with the physical media because I've seen stuff that I like disappear from streaming, and it had to like hunt down DVDs once in a while and Blu-rays to watch it. And I mean, the cynic in me is like, man, as more and more of this stuff becomes specific to certain streaming catalogs, and I'm like, I'm not going to want to subscribe to all of them. Be just better off to own it again, right? And actually have the Blu-ray, at least for your most favorite movies. So I kind of just wish the option was out there. I think the last physical media that I kept buying was WrestleMania. This hasn't been for a few years, but for a while, I had every WrestleMania, in physical format, DVDs, well, first VHS and then DVDs. Then I started getting the Blu-rays, and I would make a point every year to at least buy WrestleMania on Blu-ray. I stopped a few years ago, but I kind of wish that was still out there. So, I mean, just general thoughts on this or memories of buying wrestling physical media and that now not being an option.
I was not a big buyer of their physical media. In fact, I think the last thing of theirs I bought was, funny enough, Money in the Bank 2011. But it's just that, I guess in a way they've trained me because we are almost at a decade of the WWE network, and I'm just so used to logging on there and watching the documentaries, because that was always my biggest interest. And those were the things like my golden birthday, my 25th. spent mostly alone. And I just remember going and buying the self-destruction of Ultimate Warrior and watching that. And I think prior to Money in the Bank, that was the last thing I bought. So I was a big renter. I loved renting all the wrestling stuff, and that's kind of how I consumed it, but never really purchased.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss it. I'm an old head as well. I'm just curious just how many youngsters out there, and I'm sure there aren't many that watch this show that have actually seen a wrestling event on a DVD or a VHS, more or less. So, and then funny enough, the last DVD that I bought was CM Punk's Best in the World.
Mm.
Yeah. So
See, I just watched it over and over again on the network.
that's the best thing to do now. Yeah, I'm going to completely miss it. I mean, but again, we don't really watch it. And I don't really know from a numbers perspective, like, do they, how are sales of like DVDs and Blu rays as a whole?
Well, I mean,
Worldwide?
Best Buy
I don't
stopped
know.
selling them.
There you go.
But then it's like, I think this will all come in cycles. Like, I think eventually, like I was getting to with the streaming stuff, people are going to go back to wanting to own stuff. We've seen this happen with vinyl,
Mhm.
recently as well. Vinyl's like a totally different thing because it's bigger and the artwork and everything. But still, I think at some point it's like you don't actually own it. You don't own it. And if they pull it, you're screwed.
Mhm.
If you want to watch it, you don't actually own any of this stuff. So there is something to be said for actually owning that movie or owning that event or owning that documentary. This just happened with when the network vanished here in the States and they went to Peacock. And remember, we lost everything for a while and then they were slowly re-uploading stuff. I think I went back and I had to pull some of my DVDs to watch some stuff we were talking about on the show. Or like it was in the conversation that I was going to have to do that. And so, I mean, who knows in the future? But yeah, I don't know for sure what the last thing I bought was. I bought the Best in the World set for sure. The thing about streaming on the network that's different is you don't get all the bonus stuff. You get like the main program, but there's so much more on those Blu-rays that that's just going to be gone. So I think there was always an advantage to physical media. I know I bought the Kevin Owens set a few years back, the Paul Heyman set. Yeah, but it's been a little while, but it's just one of those things again, like from our childhood that's disappearing. So I thought it was worth talking about briefly here on the pod.
And what hurts the most as well is not being able to see the original like ECW, WCW events with the original music, like World Class and AWA and all that. So we get this dubbed over garbage. It's on the net. It's on Peacock.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm assuming that'd be the same that what's on the DVDs that, at least what they've released in the past, like
What they're
10
released,
years
yeah.
or so. Yeah.
Some of those early ECW ones had the authentic
Did they?
music, but
Okay.
yeah. All right. Let's throw it to AEW here now for the back half of this program. Continental Classic. We've talked a lot about wrestling tournaments and how, at least in North America, they never usually live up to the hype. Japan has always done a good job with them. Here in the States, there's not been that many that have been good. I got to hand it to AEW. This has been a promotion very up and down this year.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost some star power, obviously, to our previous topic. But, dude, they are knocking it out of the park with this tournament. It has been excellent, Justin. I know you've been a big fan of this.
Absolutely. I mean, I already consider it, a resounding success, if only because, I mean, for one, it just adds an extra little bit of something to all the matches. Like I'm looking forward to Collision and Dynamite way more than I had been, previously for months. But also the fact that like there are like 4 or 5 different outcomes that I wouldn't mind seeing for the finals. And I think that's from what they've done in these matches, in the way it's kind of been outlined and built. Just the way they've managed all the wrestlers, I think has been fantastic. And I know a lot of people complained about like Jay Lethal being on there, maybe some head scratching about Daniel Garcia and Mark Briscoe. But in this kind of tournament, you need these kind of guys to take the losses, in order to build up other people and other stories. So like that never really bothered me that much because it did have enough star power to send a message to everybody that they were taking this seriously. And every match feels like they're taking it seriously. And the best part of all has been the pre and especially the post-match interviews. Those have just been unbelievably good. In fact, the only thing I would fault the C2 for is that they're not airing more of these on actual TV.
Mm-hmm.
There are quite a few pros in this whole thing, and there are a couple of cons, not named Tony, in this scenario as well. So, yeah, you pretty much hit all of the pros that I was going to. I mean, the match quality has been top notch. I've loved the physicality on the blue side of things, as well as, I mean, I think I've sort of known this, but now I'm like really sold. Like, Roosh to me is incredible, and that dude needs a push. Like, I'm talking after this tournament's over.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, just unreal stuff. Those chops are just nasty. That was my favorite match of the Minneapolis show was Roosh and Mark Briscoe. Go for it, Justin.
Oh, I was going to... I freaking loved that finish with Roosh and Mox. I don't think I'd ever seen that before. Where like he did go unconscious, but it was just for like a split second. I found it very believable that, you know, that you would just maybe pass out just long enough where your hand drops, but then you wake back up and you're basically better off than your opponent. I thought that was just fantastic the way they did that. And I agreed, you know, the Briscoe match was just incredible. Briscoe, you know, 0-3 has been kind of the low key, almost MVP of this thing. Every single one of his matches have been an absolute humper.
Mm-hmm.
Not arguing here. Here is my small con that I'm gonna definitely get to is that it's been really predictable. In that, like, all the winners have pretty much been called. I've been able to call every one except for Brody King defeating Eddie Kingston, and I think from that perspective, Claudio beating.
No, I was going to say Brody King beating Claudio.
Brody King beating Claudio? Yeah, okay. So Brody King winning them both. Okay. Other than that, it's been complete chalk. And I think that's kind of where I would have liked to seen a couple more stars in there. Treat this like an actual G1 climax where some of the stars actually get upset by specific people in some fluke ways. Go ahead.
But I think that's where we're heading. Just because, you know, with the Jon Moxley promo talking about how banged up he is, you know, same with a lot of the other guys. I think that's what it's coming down to is these stars are starting to show the wear and tear, and that in these underdogs who are going to be playing spoilers, that's exactly where I think we're heading.
Yeah.
Which has made it so that the chalk doesn't really bother me that much.
The tournament just hit the halfway point too, so obviously you're going to give us a little bit of time. But again, that's my one really only negative is that it's been very predictable, and it's just kind of unfortunate. I think for the believability moving forward of the guys we mentioned, like the Jay Lethals and the Mark Briscoes, the Daniel Garcias. It's like once they get this opportunity again, are they going to be able to beat somebody? And after this tournament, to me, the answer is no.
I would agree with that. I think it's been pretty predictable too. And I get Justin's point about having guys to take the L's. I think overall, I would have liked to have a little bit stronger roster so you could have more of the shock factor here and there and really not knowing who's going to win. When I look at the brackets, I basically see two ways for the Blue League to go. Right now, as we record, Brody King is 2-0. We've got Andrade 1-0, Brian 1-0, but he's going to be wrestling a bunch here over the next week. Claudio 1-1, Garcia and Kingston both 0-2. So they're telling this story with like Kingston was really doubting himself, you know, with that promo he gave 2 weeks ago. And I could see them going the direction of like Kingston finds himself and he goes on this run, and with it being in Long Island, he could come out on top on the blue side. I definitely could see that. The more conventional thing is Bryan Danielson wins the blue side. I feel like it's going to be one of those two. And I'll let you guys chime in here in a second. On the gold side, I mean, as much as we've raved about Swerve Strickland, I think it should be him. Outside of that, I mean, maybe Mox, but I feel like Mox is maybe just going to like run out of gas here a little bit. I'm really looking forward to that match next week on Dynamite. That's the other positive of this, is giving you matches to look forward to. With Mox and Swerve next week, it's going to be freaking awesome. So looking forward to that. That'll give us some clues maybe as where the gold side is headed. We've talked about like with Jay White, you know, does he need to be given some big wins? And he's 2-1 at this point. I don't see him winning the gold side though. So like if I were to pick, I would say it's gonna end up being at World's End Swerve against Bryan or Swerve against Kingston. What do you think, Justin?
Look, I love Swerve, but if this is all leading to like a new title, I don't really want him involved with that. I want him, to be zeroed in on the world championship. Let him come close on this, but I wouldn't hate him just narrowly losing this thing to Mox or maybe even Roosh, which is probably a little too soon for him to be winning it all. But I think I'd almost want to go like Mox and Kingston. I think is the way that kind of the story is leading up, or maybe you go, duel of the Blackpool Combat Club guys of Danielson versus Moxley. I guess my main takeaway is just I don't want Swerve with this new title.
The flip side of that, real quick, is that if he isn't in that match, then do you get him is there time to set something up for the pay-per-view that would be something worthwhile if he's not in the finals of this? Because certainly you want him to have a good spot on that pay-per-view. Now, if neither him or Mox win, speaking of how much we're looking forward to that match, I mean, maybe they could set something up for those two outside of the tournament. But I gotta imagine it's gonna be one of those two on the side. That'd be my only drawback, but I totally get what you're saying. I'd rather he was in the world title picture totally. I just don't know if it's setting up that way right now with what's going on with Joe and MJF, unfortunately.
And
I agree.
I guess
Go ahead, Justin.
the only thing I was going to say is I guess my only complaint would be that this is for a title and not for a shot at the world title.
Agree.
I agree with both of you. I think in a perfect world, Swerve wouldn't win here. He'd eventually get the build-up. He'd take the title of Revolution. I think just channeling my Karnak brain, I can actually see Swerve winning this, defeating Danielson in the final, carrying this Triple Crown title for a while with the prestige, build him up longer, and then eventually he loses it, and he's like, oh, all right, I'm going to take the world title towards the tail end of 2024. And that I think that might be the way the AEW is leaning right now at this point. I think they're just going to hold off just a little bit longer. This is almost like 97 Steve Austin we're witnessing here with Swerve Strickland. At least that's kind of what I see.
Mm-hmm. I love the Karnak reference, by the way. We know our audience. We know the age of our audience. Very nice. That's great. Yeah. What do you guys think then on the opposite side? I mean, are you seeing what I'm seeing with Danielson or Kingston, like the Kingston coming from behind to get to the top kind of angle, or just straightforward with Bryan Danielson?
I mean, certainly not Andrade with him talking about his contracts coming up and he might be going back to WWE. Yeah. That's why he wants to hit up CMLL, one more time. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. Keep it to yourself.
What are you doing?
Fucking come on, Brian. Find that guy.
Do you guys like the way that story, by the way, I had that on as the talking point. We can just hit this now real quick.
Yes.
The way some sites were like framing that story was so fucking ridiculous. So like, I don't doubt that he's involved in this, but I saw some people writing this story up like you would think Bryan Danielson is monitoring Twitter. There is no way this guy is monitoring Twitter. He barely touches social media. Now, someone is telling him, and then maybe he's delivering the message because he's on the committee. Yes. But Bryan Danielson is not sitting back there. He's just going through his phone. He's looking for what tweets were these people liking? What were they saying? Like, no, come on. It's Bryan Danielson. He's not doing that. Laughable.
Gotta fire this one off. I mean, we got to give Danielson the ability to empower him to find and suspend guys like Slick 2099, Jobber Nation, Elite Rocker SOB, Alfred Conua, as well as everybody with the first name bunch of numbers as well. So, hey, if that works, then sign me up for that.
He could just send Alfred like a nice vegetarian platter or something, and he could get on his good side. Yeah. So, but yeah, I guess we're all kind of on the same page on that side of the bracket then. Nothing else?
Yeah, I think I'll go quick. I think Eddie's gonna win the next 3 just to continuously tell a story because he can't lose both of those titles and make it be anticlimactic.
Agreed.
Yeah,
So
right.
I'm gonna stick with Swerve and Danielson because that's what I started with. But I would not be surprised if it was like a Moxley Kingston scenario, which would be a hell of a match in a feud. Swerve and Kingston as well on the outside would be phenomenal if we can get a promo battle. I think for a couple of days, similar to like the Punk Kingston scenario at Full Gear, because that would make that final that much more fun to me.
Yeah. Guys, Ric Flair's still there.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Jesse, you're in the building for the controversial promo. And then, Tony was asked about this, and he made a point to say, like, we're basically getting paid to put Ric Flair on TV with the energy drink. And, boy, that is pretty distracting. You were in the building for it. We don't see it as much on TV, but the huge cartoon Ric Flair energy drink logos on both sides of the entranceway, it's a bit much. Thoughts, guys? Ric Flair. Justin, I saw you shake your head right away.
I mean, I said it when he showed up. I don't want him on my TV. And then hearing him using promo time to try and have sex with 18-year-olds, get this fucking guy out of here. I mean, it's the same thing with Hogan, where it's like these guys that we freaking idolized as kids, both possibly considered the greatest of all time. And it honestly fucking kind of hurts my heart a little bit to see these guys showing up and just destroying their legacy. I mean, and obviously they're destroying it in other ways outside of the wrestling industry. But I mean, Ric Flair's just not doing himself any favors. I just wish he could be at peace with himself and his life and not need this limelight with his shitty fucking energy drink, filled with mushrooms or whatever. I fucking hate it, man. I don't want Ric Flair around,
You're not getting any arguments from me. Hi, Concrete Cowboy 23. How are you doing this evening? I see you over there in the chat. Yeah, it was very hideous. When I witnessed it live as well. And this is one thing as well. It's not morbid, but it kind of touches upon those lines. I mean, look at the examples that we're seeing right now of people in their 70s and their 80s and what they're saying and how they're acting in major limelight scenarios, is that they just don't have the capacity to be put in higher situations. We're not, obviously Ric Flair is not the president of the United States, but you're throwing him on national television with a live microphone and just praying he doesn't say something stupid. Good news is that you were able to edit this because it was on Rampage and was going to be shown on Friday. But like, I know there were a handful of people behind me that were actually clapping when he made that line, which is absolutely cringeworthy, saying 18 to 28-year-old women, come on over to my hotel and leave your boyfriends and husbands at home. That's something you could get away with in 1983. That's something you can't get away with in 2023. It's hideous.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to add. You guys kind of hit it from every angle. I mean, look, Ric Flair is one of my top 4 favorite wrestlers of all time. That will not change. He's on my Mount Rushmore. He's one of the greatest of all time. I said when they brought him in, it's like, it's fine for me to see him on TV once in a while, as long as he's not doing stuff like this. Like, I wouldn't mind if he was on there once a month or something, just to give him like that boost of star power. He should be taking TV time from anyone else. But it sucks for Sting now in this swan song to have this distraction going on. Like, you would have hoped that obviously this would not happen. I wasn't one of the people right away who was like, get him off my TV like Justin was. I mean, you can go back and listen to the pod. I didn't say that. I don't mind. At least at that point, I didn't mind seeing him on TV because he's Ric Flair. I do mind him saying stuff like this in front of a live audience. I don't want that. And at this point, I would have probably just cut bait, no matter what money they're getting. I mean, this energy drink is not going to be around that long. Let's be honest. I've never even seen it in a store personally. I made a point to look a couple of times just to see, and I've not even seen it around.
I think Edina is going to denounce him here in the state of Minnesota at some point in time if he keeps this up.
God. Yeah, the hometown boy, right?
Exactly. That is full of cake eating folks as well. So I mean, that it's not
very
it's very
wealthy
difficult
parents.
for them
Yeah.
to denounce one of their own.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Edina?
Yes.
Oh shit, I guess I didn't know that. That's where my buddy lives. I stay there all the time.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I eat cake there all the time.
Lucky you. Very prestigious hockey program. They're absolutely fantastic. I have multiple clients from there. Evidence. That's why I'm actually still up and running here with my business. So I can't say too much derogatory about Edina, Minnesota.
I am reading a really good biography on Ric Flair right now that recently came out by Tim Hornbaker. It's a great read. I'm not totally done with it yet. I mean, the guy has had a very interesting life, but that said, you can't say this kind of stuff in 2023 when you're in your mid 70s, Rick.
Especially
Justin,
with his history.
Yeah, and with his history. I mean, yeah, that's the greater point. Justin, I mean, you said it in our Facebook group when this came up. You said something along the lines of, you think Richard Fleer died in like 1983 or something like that. He cannot separate himself from the character. I think that's absolutely true.
Well, that's because somebody wanted to know if it was him in character or if it was the actual guy. And it's like, it doesn't matter because it's the same guy either way. Richard Flair is dead. And go ahead.
Sorry, wasn't it Charlotte? Someone said something to that effect in one of the documentaries about him. Like,
yeah,
Richard Fleer died a long time ago. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll go with December 25th of 1982. So we actually get to witness the death of his in a couple of weeks in good old Dallas, Texas.
By one vote, Top Rope Nation Classics this month. It was down to Vengeance 2001 and World Class Star Wars 1982. And World Class won. And look, I was kind of pulling for Michael Jenkinson, our boy, because his nominations never have won, and he was really close this month. But at the same time, I was kind of thinking but we got the Von Erich movie coming out this month. I think it's probably going to win. And for us to have that tie-in is going to work really well too. So I am looking forward to that. Justin, I'm getting pretty concerned that movie's not going to play here, by the way.
Wait, what?
Yeah, because I don't know this A24 that made it and its distribution. I don't know if you've looked, but on the website for A24, you can start to see times for when it comes out at the end of December. And they're doing early screenings right now, like around the country. But I looked ahead and it's listed in a bunch of theaters in Iowa and not in our metro. It was playing in Dubuque. It was playing in Iowa City. It was playing maybe in Cedar Rapids. And the other thing that
we're fucking road tripping, buddy.
We're going to have to. And
I was going to say, go ahead.
Maybe you have to go to Minnesota to see Jesse.
I'll pay for your vacation day for that Friday if you want to drive up here and see the movie with me. I'm in.
So the other tie-in here, by the way, is that A24 also made that movie on Priscilla Presley that just came out. And you guys who are listening know I do TCB Cast. I'm a regular guest co-host. It's an Elvis Presley podcast, history podcast. And I just did a show this week, which dropped. So check that out on TCB Cast, by the way. But as part of that crew, there's four of us that do the shows. There's the two regular hosts, Gurdeep and Justin Gosman. And then myself and Beck Wiles are like the regular guest co-hosts. And all four of us are going to convene to review that movie, which A24 made, Priscilla, just like we did when the Austin Butler movie came out last year. And Priscilla has not played here. I could not believe it. And they even had a poster for it up at Crossroads, Justin, when I took my kids to see the Taylor Swift movie, and they still never got it. So I started to get nervous then because it's like, oh shit, this is the same company that's making the Von Erichs movie. Or do they have some hiccup where they can't get their films? And it is not on the schedule. We are definitely going to have to road trip.
Gabe is saying it's going to be here in the chat.
It's not listed right now, Gabe. And
Gabe,
they never got Priscilla.
Information, buddy. Don't fucking tease me.
Super late posting in around the Marcus Theaters over there. So cross your fingers.
I don't know, Gabe. I'm telling you, they never got Priscilla, and that one hits streaming next week. So I hope you're right. But as of right now, I am not confident in it, unfortunately. I hope they will add it at the last second, though.
And hi, GFan444. Mike, I'm looking forward to seeing this Freebird turn at the end because this is one of the most, us as wrestling historians, this is one of the greatest angles in the history of professional wrestling. We get to deep dive on it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Really, really looking forward to it. We've done one world-class show in the past year or two ago, Thanksgiving Star Wars. That was a lot of fun. This will be number 2. So, Gabe, man, if you want to come on, we got to get somebody on as a guest on that one. We got to get 4 people on that one. Let me know, Gabe, because you grew up in Texas in the Von Erich area. So you'd be a good guest. If you're willing to come on camera, Gabe Benson, reach out. Let me know if you want to do that show with us.
Gabe,
saw the early screening.
Gabe, you are a handsome fellow. There's no reason that you shouldn't want to be on camera.
That's right. That's right.
It's also Patreon as well, so you're not getting as many viewers as well to this too.
It's true. You're behind the paywall on the video feed. So we'll be doing that here probably in 2 weeks, probably right before Christmas. Like, I don't really want to mess around with it during Christmas time. So I think maybe in 2 weeks we'll be recording that one. We got to talk off air on that. But if you guys want access, of course, join Patreon. It's just $5 a month. And there's multiple tiers to this. We also have a $10 tier. And speaking of that, the guys and I have been talking about scheduling the first TRN happy hour. That is for $10 plus tier patrons. That's one of the benefits of being on the $10 tier. And basically, we're all going to hang out on Zoom, have some drinks, watch wrestling together. The first TRN happy hour, we're going to be watching the May 19th, 93 edition of Monday Night Raw. It's going to be a blast. So if you're a $5 patron and you want to get on there, just up the pledge for a month. And that's probably going to be within the next week and a half as well. We're working on scheduling the time. It's going to be very, very soon. I'll let you know on the Patreon page when we get that date nailed down. But the $5 tier is where you get all the bonus shows. $10 tier is to do the happy hour, to be able to nominate shows for classics and a few other perks. You can read about it. Patreon.com/Top Rope Nation. Number one way to support the growth of this show and fund us and show us that you like what we're doing. It's like a tip a month, once a month. It's like you're buying us a beer, $5 a month.
We appreciate it very much. I feel like we're a very talented trio. We could challenge the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn for those trios championships. So yeah,
yes,
please.
Absolutely. What would the TRN belts look like? They wouldn't be pink. They wouldn't have the scissors on it. Probably need like a tulip glass on each side. You could just drink from the belt or something like that.
There's a merch idea, Ryan.
Dude, I could see Justin like holding up a belt like this, and you're just like pouring the drink, and it's like a slide as the beer comes down all the way, and you funnel it in.
It's not a belt. It's a helmet. One of those like beer can helmets.
Yeah. Good stuff. That's amazing. If we have any artists out there, please draw this for us. Maybe we'll have to just like get one of those AI art programs to make the picture.
I know an artist. I just don't know how cheap she is because she's talented.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Yes.
New merch idea. There you go. Guys, I think that's about it, isn't it? From our agenda tonight. I think we covered it with only Okada. We could hit that real quick here. What do you want to see for Kazuchika Okada? Free agent, early 2024. I can see Justin just pining. He wants to see Okada in WWE. I can see it on your face.
Ryan, that's actually the truth.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't even know why. I think part of the reason is because I think the top part of the AEW roster is plentiful with guys that, I want to see become first-time champions, guys I want to see be two-time champions, the MJFs, the Hangman, the Swerves. I think we all agree that we're very likely going to see Samoa Joe very soon as world champion. It's just loaded. And I just think he would be more interesting in WWE. Not that I want a reason to watch that program, but I think it just might be more beneficial to the wrestling industry. Although I think ultimately he's going to stay in New Japan, in my opinion.
Yeah. Go ahead.
One-off comment, by the way, Samoa Joe has cracked my top 10 all-time favorite professional wrestlers.
Woo! Top 10.
I've been diving into him the last week and some of his work. I actually just rewatched the Punk Joe match before we got on tonight from All In, and it's just beautiful. So Okada,
that match fucking rules.
yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean it's very similar to, like, I'll go back to last night. I really enjoyed Adam Copeland and Christian Cage and how old school psychology that was. The ending was a touch screwy, and Mrs. Wayne didn't exactly connect, so she doesn't really necessarily have it going on anymore, at least from that aspect.
You gotta lay that in better. Come on, Mrs. Wayne.
I know, but I thought the match was great. Outside of that, so Okada, I think he is better off staying in New Japan, and Justin stole my thunder on all of it. And I guess I really wouldn't mind if he went to WWE for a change of scenery, and maybe with Triple H at the helm, he can treat him right away when he gets to the promotion the way that he treated Nakamura in NXT. That's pretty much your only hope there. If you can give him that presentation, treat him almost like an AJ Styles when he came over as well from New Japan, and hopefully the audience is receptive of and has a little bit of knowledge of who he is, that he can get shot up the card rather quickly. I don't have faith in that. So I'd like him to stay home in New Japan and then just do the crossover matches at Forbidden Door and then have the AEW guys cross over to Wrestle Kingdom. That's kind of where I'd like him to be.
Imagine New Japan losing both Will Ospreay and Okada at the opening of 2024. I mean, Jesus Christ, not that it'd be a death blow, but my God, they would be in dire straits.
And having lost Jay White earlier in 2023.
Yeah, my answer is the boring one. I think best case is him just re-signing with New Japan.
Yeah.
Keep him there. Still has the option to work AEW. I wouldn't mind WWE, although I would want to, I don't know if they'd be open to it. I'd like to see it as like a short-term thing. Like, I'd love to see him come out as a surprise in the Royal Rumble. I don't want to see him signing like a 3-year contract with WWE though. If they were open to a very brief thing, even like 6 months, just get 6 months out of him, I think that would be fun. I don't know that WWE would actually be open to that though, is the problem. So I don't want to see him long-term there. I wouldn't mind the novelty of seeing it though.
And the great news there as well is that he gives a different presentation from anything that the WWE has. So I'm all for that signing if it does happen.
Yeah. I think he'll re-sign with New Japan though. Justin.
I think we should all be excited if he does sign with WWE for the eventual Okada, Shinsuke, and Tozawa faction that they would assume.
Oh, of course. Of course. Yeah, they'd have to do that. We've seen plenty of evidence of that. Yeah, no, it's
which supposedly, Nakamura's big push this latter half of the year has been kind of a signal flare to Okada that, hey, look at the way we treat, come to us. You'll be a top guy.
What about all those other years? Short memories. I mean, come on.
So he'll actually get his revenge on Bronson Reed, and then he'll lose to Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes in back-to-back fashion. Is that what's going to happen to Okada?
Yep.
I think there's a
2.0. Oh no.
I think there's a former member of this podcast who nicknamed him Snorske. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think that's what he would be.
Yeah.
Because the New Japan style is a big part of Okada's presentation, and if you strip that, from him, I don't know. I don't know how well it would work with the mainstream WWE audience.
I know. But give the wrestling audience, if you go that route, the Okada Walter match that we all deserve, and let there be no chains unturned.
Oh my.
Send it.
6 to midnight, buddy. 6 to midnight.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. That'd be great. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But it's probably going to be not necessarily the boring answer, but it seems most likely he would stay put. But it's interesting to think about. We'll see. And if it hasn't been settled up by the Rumble, we'll at least have that intrigue They're like, have they pulled something off? Are they going to have an actual surprise here? Rumble season's always fun. And I know Michael Jenkinson loves Royal Rumble season, so he'll be talking about it in the Facebook group. And you guys should get in the Facebook group too. If you're not already there, search Top Rope Nation Pro Wrestling Discussion every single day. Lots of quality posts going up. Would love to have you involved over there. As I said, the Patreon page, and free of charge, just subscribe to the YouTube channel. Support us on whatever podcasting platform you use. Make sure you follow us. Leave us that 5-star review. Would appreciate it a lot. Mr. Joint, 5 stars. He's flashing the 5 stars right now. Love it. Yes, indeed. Parting comments, guys, before we take it home.
Juan Soto, baddie number 2.
Next week, I'll be talking about Otani.
I hope so, buddy.
I'll take out that belt and I'll be pouring some beers down one of these belts from behind me right here. I'll take out the classic IC, do a shot off of it.
Oh, please, Otani, sign with Chicago.
We all have to see this. Patreon exclusive. Yes.
Absolutely. I'll go quick. ECW 1995. I've actually dove into the first episode and a half of Hardcore TV. I am going to enjoy this entire review of ECW 1995. So that's what you have to look forward to in 2024 for all those old school heads. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun diving into that piece of history.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
TRN Unplugged. That's a Patreon exclusive podcast where you can hear that. Jesse's old pod, it still exists. It's just behind the paywall. All right, guys.
Maybe just tease a little bit. I think for the first time, something I've wanted to do for about 3 years now on the podcast, and it's never worked out. The end of year 2023 review, whatever. I've always wanted to do a best of draft, and I think I've about talked the guys into it. I don't know if we're going to just do a regular snake draft or an auction. We've got some talking to do, but I think that's the direction it's heading.
A lot of stuff to perk your eyes and ears up for coming down the pipeline in the next few weeks, because I think we have something fun coming next week as well. But yeah, Justin's idea is one hell of a way to tune in and take a look and see what we're throwing at you these days.
Shows are booking up fast. And we might have some other stuff to do too. There's some other things going on behind the scenes. Nothing to announce yet, but we might have some other exciting things in the works. We'll have to piece that in too. But yeah, the schedules, we're already getting to mid-January probably with some of this stuff. So stay tuned, you guys, wherever you're getting your podcasts. And appreciate everyone who is on the live feed tonight, who watched us live. Make sure you subscribe so you can join us sometime. It's a lot of fun. Love to see the chat room going. Got a little more active here towards the end, but we will be back once again next week, next Thursday night. Same TRN time, same TRN channel. See, once again, we know the age of our listeners. They'll get that reference too. Guys, episode 320 of Top Rope Nation. It's been a blast. We'll see y'all next week. Take care.
I'm here for the money.